CWL Miami is right around the corner, and I'm still getting a handful of questions as far as how the setup for Miami works. So, for this episode, we'll be breaking down the format of Miami and what to expect throughout the entire weekend. Enjoy. What's up, Call of Duty fans? Welcome back. Good to see you guys. IHOLDSHIFT with you, going through Miami. Of course, how we got here and where we go from after that, as there's a lot of things going on at Miami. So this is what you need to know about it. As soon as there are more lines posted for betting things, we'll do head-to-head predictions for the play-ins as well as the playoffs and our overall predictions and expectations for the weekend in another video. So for this one, we'll be very short and sweet. Let's just go figure out how exactly we got here. 12 weeks of CWL regular season has led to us dividing our divisions by Division A and Division B. The top teams from the division will be put into the already playoff bracket. Those top 8 teams in total will be secured to get into the double elimination bracket. Again, this is the regular season playoffs. That's the best way of saying it. That's how I'll refer to it from here on out. So 4 teams from each division are in the regular season playoffs. The bottom 4 from each division will have to go into a play-in bracket to determine who the last 2 teams who will meet those 8. So we'll have 10 teams in total that will be represented in the regular season playoffs. So, to do that, you'll be doing a single elimination style bracket for the last 8 teams that are there. They'll have to get to, obviously, what would be considered the winners' finals or the finals. Those 2 teams won't actually play. They'll just be put right into the playoff bracket. Makes sense? Let's go ahead and break it down and give you some visuals. So, to start things off, this is what the Pro League finished off as in each division. Starting with Division A, Optic would reign supreme there as they would finish 16-6 with a 53-38 map total. Gen G just behind them at 15-7 as they went actually 54-36. FaZe Clan in third at 13-9. They had Reciprocity and Midnight were tied at 12-10, but Reciprocity holding the edge in the head-to-head would be the one to secure themselves as our top 4 teams. They finished 12-10. Midnight also did the same, although let's be honest, it was the first Midnight roster that did a lot of that winning. I think they were 7-2. So if you do the math there, this most recent Midnight roster, or the main parts of that Midnight roster, really only went like 5-8 in the Pro League. Evil Geniuses would be in the 6th spot at 8-14. Luminosity also there, but losing the tiebreaker in the head-to-head to Evil Geniuses. And then everyone's favorite UIU team is sitting in dead last. So Midnight, Evil Geniuses, and Luminosity, including UIU, they will be in the play-in bracket where Optic, Gen G, FaZe Clan, and Reciprocity have secured themselves into the playoffs. On Division B, E United at 18-4. They are one Division B and coming in as the first seed. 100 Thieves at 17-5 will be the second seed. Splice able to very narrowly eke out a third place spot at 11-11 as Heretics slipped pretty heavily in their most recent week of cross-divisional, going down to 10-12. But they were still safe, and those will be your top 4 teams from Division B in the regular season playoffs. Team Envy at 8-14, as well as Units. Of course, the head-to-head going the way of Team Envy. They'll be in 5th, Units in 6th. Enigma 6 will actually bump above Elevate with the head-to-head tiebreaker there, as they are both 7-15. So again, your top 4 going into the playoffs immediately are United, 100 Thieves, Splice, and Heretics. Envy, Units, Enigma 6, and Elevate would be going into the play-in bracket. So let's take a look at that play-in bracket very quickly and look how the matchups ended up going. As you see it pop up again, these 8 teams, all you have to do is get to what essentially would be that 3rd round. This is a best-of-5 single elimination. You've got one chance in each of these matches. There's not going to be a double elimination. You can't make a loser's bracket run here just to determine who our last 2 teams, I guess I should say, are to get into the regular season playoffs. Team Envy will be going up against UIU, Evil Geniuses versus Enigma 6, Midnight versus Elevate, and then Units will be going up against Luminosity. I'll give you some brief expectations as far as these teams. I'll be going into these more in detail in a future video as far as what to expect in each of the map mode types, but you have to figure that there will be some basic generalities, and these are kind of my predictions so far in these early matchups. Team Envy, UIU, not much to write home about here. It is simply because UIU has been absolutely atrocious. Envy have not looked much better, even though they have picked up Gunless. My biggest thing about this Team Envy squad is the simple fact that there are moments where this Team Envy team look incredible. Those moments may be few and far between from what we saw in the cross-divisional, but you have to figure that they've got a lot of time to work things out before they get to Miami, and you can't deny what this team has been able to do in their most expansive history, not immediate history, expansive history on land. Yes, this team went 0-12 and 0-4 technically in maps, or 0-4 in sets, 0-12 in maps at Anaheim, but in their more expansive history, you've got a couple world champions on here. UIU is just not ready for this matchup face up. Evil Geniuses versus Enigma 6 should be a good one, to be completely candid. Apathy's going to have to play huge. That's just what I'm going to have to say about this one. Enigma 6 is going to look very scary with the new SOG patch. We did not get a chance to see them play on it when they were going through their cross-divisional in week 11. Evil Geniuses, same boat, didn't get a chance to see them play on it, but my tilt would go in favor of Enigma 6 here. I think that the team looks overall more solid. The biggest thing that I have a worry for Enigma 6 is the fact that you're going up against the mind of Revan, who has been very, very good at making this team better and better and better time and time again. Outside of a couple of individual player mistakes that may cost them some rounds here or there, this team is getting better. If Evil Geniuses were to show us their true form, it would have to be here, and it would have to be early. I personally don't think they're going to have it in them. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure riding on the fact that they're going up against a lot of expectations as far as who's on that roster and what they know that they can do. Enigma 6 is coming in saying, hey, I know we made some swaps, but we're still just as good as we were before. I think they'll come out with more fuego and be able to take it. Midnight versus Elevate. Honestly, could be a good one. But I still have to take my favor for Midnight, who've looked better across every single game mode than Elevate have. Yes, Elevate have looked pretty decent in the hard point, and the respawn actually as a whole kind of has been a little bit more in their favor, but I just see the cohesion in Midnight being better than that which is on Elevate at the moment. It could be a good set, but personally, I just think with the rehearsal reps and the fact that we already kind of saw what Midnight is able to offer, I'm excited to see how much better this Midnight team could get, because they very well could be a top 8 or at least a top 12, if not a top 8 placer, depending on how things go, not only here at Miami, but also what they do at World Champs. Units versus Luminosity. Units, I will say they are playing better than both UIU and Elevate, but they're not going to be at the same level as Luminosity. I see Luminosity just being much better. The biggest question mark for me in LG just comes down to Slacked and John. New SOG patch, no more excuses, you have to perform. And I don't know. Maybe the pressure will be riding a little bit too hard on them, but they still have got a really solid Maddox line behind them and an ICR in the skies behind them. So honestly, I see LG being able to take this one. As you go further forward, it just give you predictions as far as who might qualify. Based on my predictions, Nv versus E6 would be the top side. Midnight versus Luminosity. I've got Enigma 6 beating Nv, and then Luminosity beating Midnight. But both of those sets, I think, are going to be pretty competitive. Let's take a look, though, as far as what that means for the actual playoffs themselves. Now, before I go too far into the playoffs, those teams that lose out in the play-ins are not done. The top 16, well, I guess I should say, all the 16 teams from the CWL will still be represented at World Champs by seeding 1 to 16. I'm not 100% sure as far as how that seeding is going to work, because obviously placements in the playoffs might mean more, and I believe that they would. I believe the way that it would go, it would be number 1 from the playoffs all the way down to number 4, and then the 5th, 6th would have some kind of a tiebreaker, the 7th, 8th would have some kind of a tiebreaker, and then 9th through 12th and 13th through 16th will have some kind of a tiebreaker in there as far as how those seedings would work for World Champs. But all 16 CWL teams will still be at World Champs. We'll come back to that later. Looking at our playoff bracket as a whole, though, up top, Optic has secured themselves a first round, we'll say a bye, but they're the number 1 seed, so they'll be up top by themselves. They will be awaiting the opponent of Heretics and one of the play-in teams. I'm not 100% sure if it's the top side of the play-in goes immediately into round 1 against Heretics and the bottom side goes in immediately to round 1 to Reciprocity, or if there's something to do with head-to-heads there as far as who goes to which opponent. But regardless, Heretics will play one of the winners of the play-ins. Winner of that will go up against Optic. And how about this matchup? 100 Thieves will be going up against FaZe early. And just like that, Optic, 100 Thieves, and FaZe are all on the top side of the bracket. Those are 3 of your top 4 finishers from Anaheim. And honestly, between 100 Thieves and Optic, those are 3 or 2, I guess you should say in their case, 2 of the top 4 finishers throughout every tournament we've pretty much seen so far. So big looks here, honestly. I mean, not every tournament, but most of the tournaments have been represented by Optic or 100 Thieves. In fact, outside of Luminosity, these are the only 2 other champions that have actually won an event so far this year. They're going to be going up against each other very, very early on. Now, sidebar. This is a double elimination style bracket. I don't have it pictured here. I will when results start to come in, but there is a loser's bracket here. But still, the simple fact of the matter becomes if you win and you get to the grand finals as a winner, your chances of winning the event go so much higher. So between the squads of Optic, 100 Thieves, and FaZe, one of those two will not be in the winner's finals. That's going to be wild. In the bottom side of the bracket, Reciprocity will be awaiting a winner from their play-in bracket, and the winner of that matchup would be going up against the top seed in Division B in E United. Also in this bracket is Gen G and Splice. And honestly, if you're Gen G, you have to be looking at this bracket like, thank goodness, because let's be honest, this Splice team, they had a very strong start to the season. They had a very mediocre middle and a little bit of a lackluster end until they brought in Huke. And even still, I have a lot of personal concerns about what this team is going to be able to offer as a major contender. Will they eventually get back to top 4 form again? They're running out of time to do that. So for me, Gen G's got to be looking at this bracket as almost a godsend because, again, look how stacked the upper side of this bracket is. A couple of predictions here as far as who will get through, who won't. Again, I don't know who's going to be playing Heretics, who will be playing Reciprocity, but you'll be dealing with either Enigma 6 and Luminosity. Honestly, I see both Enigma 6 and Luminosity being able to beat Heretics. I don't know if Enigma 6 can beat Reciprocity. So my expectations there are going to be a little bit dependent on who gets matched up against who. 100 Thieves and FaZe, you have to favor 100 Thieves. They beat them before, they'll beat them again. Optic will win their winner's bracket as well. So it'll likely be 100 Thieves and Optic in my mind in round number 3. That's just going to be very, very interesting as far as who wins the upper side of that bracket. And in the bottom, I've got Luminosity. If they do get on through, they could potentially make a run here in this bracket. I don't see the same thing for Enigma 6. E United, I think, is pretty much a lock to get through round 3 unless they play Luminosity, in which case I think it could be a very competitive match. Gen G I have beating Splice, no problem. And honestly, getting into the bracket finals, I've got Gen G actually getting there and meeting what will likely be 100 Thieves in the winner's side bracket finals. There is still a loser's bracket, so again, I'm not going to go super into predictions for this because there's a lot of things we just don't know about. So that's how we'll trail things off. Before we go, it is important to note, we mentioned all 16 teams from CWL will be represented at Grand Champs. However, there will be an addition of 16 more teams that'll be coming out of the open bracket from CWL Miami. So the teams that finish top 16 at Miami will also be gained a berth into the World Championships this year for a 32-team total pool that'll be happening over the course of, I believe, 4 or 5 days. It's going to be absolutely wild. So outside of more immediate predictions and expectations for not only the play-ins, but also the playoffs, expect to have daily recaps from me every single day of CWL Miami, as I do not believe I'll actually be there at all casting. Based on the expectations, I shouldn't be there, that what I've heard so far, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but that's okay. We just got to keep our head to the ground, keep grinding. Beyond that, though, I will also be doing my most likely to finish top 16 from the open bracket, your teams to kind of look out for as we go there. And then next week, go ahead and follow me on Twitch right now. I'm going to be breaking down some of these major teams as far as what's going right and what's going wrong live on stream with a little bit of an over telestrator that'll be able to draw and pick apart some of the things that are going on. So make sure you jump over to my Twitch and follow there. That's going to be content that will also be uploaded to YouTube at one point in time or the other. So that's all I got. A lot of things for you guys. Miami right around the corner. I'm very excited for it. Hopefully we'll catch you guys around the channel and in the Twitch as well for more content on CWL. Until next time though, friends, hope you all keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.